So real quick, because this is a nice segue, what I was kind of trying to get at with the Campbell discussion, and in terms of the analytics of it, to your point, whether it's measuring the 40 or wingspan, like people play faster than they test at the combine. Like Jerry Rice was famously like had a slow 40 time, right?
Yeah.
But he played faster than his metrics at the combine.
And that was that's Antonio Freeman comment.
That's what I was trying to get at with the Campbell stuff and the whole wingspan. Not to discount one metric, but it's my thing is it's just one metric. And to your point about it being a gamble, you have to include that one piece of evidence amongst the film, amongst the context of playing in the SEC and et cetera, et cetera. It's they all have to be weighed commensurately based on what they bring. That's what I was trying to say.
And Gary, I got a point for you. So I'll put it to you this way. I have the same measurables as Emmitt Smith. You know the difference between me and Emmitt Smith? He had film.
Yeah.
Like we're literally the same height, the same weight at our prime, same speed, but there's film of him at the University of Florida, rushing for 1,000 yards, running over NFL talent. Whereas me, I was a backup, trying to make a team.
Right.
So I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
Let me ask you this though, and maybe we pin this for later. What if any what were the differences between him getting to that point in college, him getting recruited for that, and you not? Did you play in a weaker conference? Did you what was the if you could talk? Maybe this is not a tonight, but I'm fascinated by what you're bringing up. Like, if he got more film in college, what was the context in your high school career that led to you being a backup? Were you just more focused on academics? What were the things?
I went to college on an academic scholarship. I just happened to want to play football.
Yeah, remember when went to the team? We did this in the Super Bowl. He said that he got to the school early and he saw a bunch of football players. Essentially, he's like, "Well, can I try out?" And then he walked on.
Yeah, because I lost my ROTC scholarship.
Right. No, I remember that. Right. Okay, fascinating. Yeah.
Right.
But on the but to nonsense, when I'm talking to you, I'm talking about the back end of it.
Yeah.
So after being in the program and exercising and I was in top. So at my top physical peak, I had the same measurables. As
Yeah.
But I don't got the same film as Emmitt Smith.
Yeah.
And at that particular point, so I would say if I came out, so if it were now, if I were coming out now, it'd probably be different. But the ideal back in my day was Eddie George.
Right.
6'2". So like the guy that started for me, Kenny Oxnard, he was 6'2", 220. So if you were 6'2", 220, yeah, he could run the 4.5.
Right.
But if you ain't 6'2" and 220, you need to be running that 4.4, 4.3.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And then the other thing, Gary, to your point about the 40, there's been a ton of players who ran 4.5s, 4.6s that actually had good careers.
No, Antonio Freeman. No, I'm telling you. That's
right. But where I was going with that, whereas there are very few people with Will Campbell's wingspan that had good careers. So that's the thing. Like we're talking.
I
heard you the first time. I heard that.
Yeah.
I think we're just my point is that in the weighting of that, I still weight the eye test by way of like SEC, et cetera, et cetera. That's just how my head was wrapping around it.
Oh no, yeah. So let me add to that context. That is a legitimate, I think that's a legitimate case for linemen.
Yeah.
But like what we're talking about is applying those physical attributes to skill positions.
Well, so right, but what I was going to say is when we talk about measurables relative to or the position, right? So for instance, nobody cares what a lineman runs in the short shuttle, right? But you
Actually, I do.
put a wide you care well, you care what a wide receiver runs in the short shuttle probably more than what
No, I care about all of them running. So to me, like the short, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but the short burst, that's what football is.
No,
So
I'm
to
talking about
me,
the short shuttle with the different cones and all that.
yes, that's short burst speed. So that's change of direction, start one. Yeah, that matters to me more than anything else. Like straight line 40 means nothing to me because there's probably 3% of football plays where you have to run a straight 40 and your play is successful.
I care about that for wide receivers who I expect to run go routes. And I care about that for corners who I expect to defend go routes. I don't care about an offensive lineman's 40 because when was the last time you saw an offensive lineman run 40 yards outside of Dan Connolly running the kickoff return back like 60, 70 yards against the Packers years ago when Brady was still playing? Like that's literally the only time I can make.
So what I will counter with what I'll counter with non is that yes, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
But it still applies to the skill positions.
Yeah.
But it's at the line of scrimmage.
That part, 100%. So,
but
right.
To the offensive and the defensive line standpoint, you don't have time to recover.
I agree.
So if you get beat on the line, you're done. You can get beat as a corner and still recover. Recovery speed is a thing.
I agree.
So to me, 40 time for corners is more important than wide receivers.
I agree on that too. I guess I was saying that's when I would actually pay attention to the full 40, right? That's because there
are no plays in football that run 40 yards. If you know one, let me know. I'll tell you what, I have never designed a play as an offensive coordinator for a 40-yard play. I'm just saying.
It's Hail Mary situation. It's like Hail Mary. Right. That's it.
But no, because that's okay. Hail Mary is different than I'm determining my number one based on you running 40 yards faster than the DB.
Right.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but real quick, like you made me think of another way to restate it, just so that I'm being as clear as I can be. I get, again, I'm not disputing like the wingspan is important from a like historical context. I think another way of thinking about it for me is like, if I took Tom Brady, I could, if we spent the time, we could pick any number of statistical categories or measurables that he performed poorly in historically. And that were probably a reason why he was not a top tier quarterback, right? He wasn't a day one quarterback. He was the third string quarterback for the Patriots. That's part of what I'm.
Was a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick?
He was a 6th round pick, 199.
Right. I think, but he was third string, right? He was the. So anyway, that's all. That's part of what I'm getting at. It's like.
So
I'm not denying the wingspan. I'm just saying it's one of many, and for me personally, I wouldn't weight it as much as like the SEC thing. So
I think
so Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, let me say it like this, right? Like essentially, and this is an extreme example, but essentially you're betting on Will Campbell getting his Spud Webb on, like to where he's 5'6", but he's so effective and he can still dunk at 5'6", to where
I think that's a bit of a reach.
Like,
but
he's not 5'6" though.
It's an extreme version of that. Like, yes, we've had Muggsy Bogues in the league. Yes, we've had Spud Webb in the league.
Dude,
They did what they did. Does anybody remember Spud Webb really being in multiple All-Star games?
I don't think that's a good comp though. Spud Webb's not compelling to me.
But what was a beast? What the fuck?
He was a beast, but he wasn't an All-Star
game. Bro. That's not even close.
I love Spud Webb.
It's not a good comp, man. It's not a good comp.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about what I think would be. I don't know. I mean, again, we'll see what happens. I just think I'm not. And by the way, I am not like Charles Barkley, who's like against stats. Like I believe in the power of stats, and I also think there's a middle ground that you have to strike in this day and age. And I think sometimes there's an people get too much into the spreadsheets and the analytics and forget about
I agree. Film should be the dominant part of the evaluation, but there comes a point.
Stop.
No, I think film should be the dominant part of the evaluation. I think we all agree there. I think the struggle is, if we're looking and saying, hey, this guy is literally too small relative to everything that succeeded. Why are we
in one narrow lane, arm length, right? I mean, he's a
dude.
It's not.
This dude is 6'6", 300.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That
I agree. But
he ran a sub 540.
I'm not saying Will Campbell is trash. I am literally,
and he only gave up 2 sacks in his whole career.
I am literally just saying.
Why are you down on this hill, bro? Why?
Nobody with his wingspan has been successful in the NFL. That's all.
No, but I heard that the first time. Anyway, I hear that.
What are you? No.
25.
What do you define as successful?
What do I do? Okay, so Pro Bowl or All Pro?
Okay.
That wingspan, right? Like it's like people were digging and they were like, "Well, the Colts tackles, kind of." Can any of us name the Colts tackles? I can name some tackles. I can't name the Colts tackles.
So I'll put it to you this way.
Yeah.
We are going back and forth on if this person is going to be all pro or not.
Or Pro Bowl.
Do you need help at the offensive line or no? Can you use a usable starter? Your offensive line is trash.
I agree.
So why are we having this conversation, bro?
I was just saying that's why I would go Membu or I would go Connerly. That doesn't mean Will Campbell's a bad person. That doesn't mean.
But so the thing is with Will Campbell, okay, you take a gamble on the tackle who gave up 2 sacks in the toughest defensive conference in college football. Yeah. Okay, we'll say you're gambling on that.
Right.
The worst case scenario, okay, you move inside a guard and you got an all-pro guard.
So I'm with you. I'm just saying, generally speaking, like we had Robert Gallery, we had Peter Skoronski. Neither one of those guys is balling. But
because so let's go back to the essential point of all of this. You guys are trash at drafting. That's the real issue.
Okay.
We're all arguing against the.
So if we draft Will Campbell, we'll continue to be trash at drafting. All right.
I think, and that's the point. I think he fills more holes
than Armand Membu.
No, I'm just saying any pick.
I'm with you.
What was your record?
I'm with you.
I'm just asking. No. Answer the question. What was your record?
4-13.
Okay, so do you think Will Campbell will make you better than 4-13 or not?
If he could play left tackle, I would say yes. If he could play left guard, I would say no.
And I would say if he can play on the offensive line at all, you will be in a better state as a team than you were this year. Is that a good statement or no? I'm going on the bottom line, man. Because
I think a way to sum it up is bro. I think you think it's more of a gamble than me or Brian does. Like I don't see it as this big gamble.
Well, no, I'm not even saying
5 years.
Gamble versus what? It's a gamble. So you're saying if you draft Will Campbell this year, you're going to be 2-15 this year? That's a gamble. That's what you're saying. So you're saying if I draft this dude, we're going to be worse off than we were this year. And I don't think that's the case. I think you're building because your team is trash and y'all are rebuilding. And and to be fair, we're a year or two away from that. And wrongfully so. We should have been rebuilt. But
so let's do it this way. So Gary, is that going to be your hot take? Because we're at the hot take lightning round. So are you making the argument that Will Campbell's going to be the greatest left tackle the NFL has ever seen? Because
you can't give that man this hot take. Let that man give his own hot take, man. Come on.
Asking him.
Come on, nah. No, you asking to tell him at the same time. Let that man give his own hot take.
I asked
what are we doing, man? What are we doing?
I said, what's your hot take?
And then you should stop after that point and let him talk. What are we doing, man?
You're talking so he can't talk either. Let him answer the question.
So what's your hot take, Will?
I think Shedeur is gonna fall out of the top 10 and then prove everybody wrong with Rookie of the Year next year.
I agree with that.
All right, that's a fair hot take. Brian, what's your hot take?
I think Travis Hunter is going to be Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year.
That is a scalding hot take.
That's what we're here for, baby. If you're making takes, what the fuck are we doing?
All right. I am. Here's my scalding hot take. Abdul Carter will not be Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. I'll take that. That's fair. So we all got plausible. I mean, granted, mine. I ain't gonna lie.
You did the hot take. Yeah,
that's a hot take. But I mean, he has the talent to do it.
He does.
It's just a matter. So to me, it's more. My hot take is less talent based than it is hierarchy based.
Yeah. Well, and how realistic is it that an organization will want to risk the injuries and somebody playing both ways like that?
But that's the whole thing. If you're drafting him, the premium on drafting him is that you're filling two starter roles in one spot.
So here's somebody was asking this on Reddit, and I said this is the way that Travis Hunter could get both, and you could tell me if you agree, right? Okay. What I said is you give Travis Hunter a red zone package and a third down package with a quarterback that is adept at the deep ball and the intermediate throws, right? So the expectation is in that scenario, he gets somewhere between 8 to 15 touchdowns over a 17-game season, right? Yeah. I think he needs touchdowns. I don't think he's going to get the yards playing both sides that you would need to get, but I think he can get because touchdowns trump everything. If he can get somewhere between 8 to 15 touchdowns, if he gets 15 to like one touchdown almost a game, which I know is extreme.
I think he has the talent. He was the best wide receiver this year.
I agree. Not arguing any of that. But what I'm saying is he needs a good
So if he was the best wide receiver this year,
he needs a quarterback.
He was the best defensive player this year.
I'm with you. And on defense, I was gonna say I think you play him full time on defense.
Yes.
He gets enough. He gets a few pick sixes, right? Like let's say he gets 2-3 pick sixes. Mm-hmm. He gets some interceptions. He has X amount of pass breakups. He has a great passing passer rating against him. That plus the 8 to 15 touchdowns on the offensive side. That's how he pulls it off. And also Campbell
in this day and age,
and Shedeur have to throw up on their shoes or start half a year. For the offensive side. Defensive Rookie of the Year, it's the easier path. But
so to me, if I was a GM, he'd be my nickel.
Okay.
And he'd be my slot.
Okay. So third down on both sides of the ball.
And that probably gets you 40, 50 plays.
Yeah.
And you can go up from there, go down from there.
Right. I think he'd be a menace on defense in the slot because of how well.
Menace all over the field. He was the best wide receiver and the best defensive back in college football this year.
I agree.
Full stop.
I agree. No argument here.
And wide receiver and cornerback are the two of the three easiest positions to translate to the NFL.
I agree with that. The one thing I will say, Steve Smith called this out. His route running will need to get a little crisper because what was happening in his pro day when Steve Smith is breaking it down is that he showed his hands way too soon, and some corners will key off of that.
So you're saying he has to be coached. Oh my God, he's a rookie.
The struggle obviously is when you're playing both sides of the ball. That's less in-game time to interact with the coaches, look at the tablet, blah 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 blah.
And I will tell you that is a team-dependent thing. If the team wants him to be successful at both positions, they will allow the time to whatever his limit is.
Yeah, they basically need a Travis Hunter coach. Like they have to dedicate.
No, you don't.
So
no, you don't.
Hear me out. This is where I'm going with this. One of the things that they mentioned about the Eagles is that they had a coach who did nothing but sit with the practice squad all year. That was his assignment.
That's different than what we're talking about. But
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying most teams don't have that. Most teams are like, hey, their practice squad, like we'll coach them with the rest of the positions, but we're not gonna have somebody where all they do is coach up the practice because it's 5 to 8 guys depending on the week. What I'm saying is, so what I'm saying is they just would pick a guy either whatever side of the ball where he needs the most help. I'm assuming on offense because he's a more developed corner to me than he is a wide receiver relative to some of the.
Wait. Yeah. Who had more touchdown catches than him this year?
No one.
Okay. Keep going.
No one.
Bro, I'm just saying, like you talking all this stuff, but the stats,
said he was my WR1.
The stats and the film don't agree with you.
I said he's the best WR1, but like I said,
he's the best DB and the best wide receiver in this class. Period. Full stop. There's no qualifications. He is the best DB and best.
I'm not arguing
in this draft.
You're arguing something I'm not arguing. I literally said they just need a coach that's going to be dedicated to his development.
Okay, that's a team problem. That's not a Travis Hunter problem. That's a team problem. Why are we talking about this?
I think non is just you're like a stats guy and you just.
But no, he can't be a stats guy because Travis Hunter had the best stats in both positions. What?
I was giving a plan to execute what we were both agreeing on. We both agreed that he was going to need some help in terms of some of the technique.
Okay. No. So it's not. To your point. No. I get your point. Right. So, do you think that Travis Hunter needs that coaching more so than any other of the wide receivers and DBs need coaching? Because he's better than all of them. He's the best wide receiver and quarterback in college football.
Right.
So if you're not gonna, if you agree with that, then we should stop talking. He's the best. Who's better? Name somebody better, or move on.
No, you were talking about college football. We all agree NFL is
tougher than college. Name somebody better. So out of all of the prospects,
you're picking a different argument, and I have.
No, I'm not making a different argument. I'm saying the dude had more picks than anybody. He had more touchdowns than anybody.
We agree.
Who's better?
Did I say anyone was better?
So are we applying the same argument of, well, you guys get coached up because this decision might? We're not talking about that for the number 2 DB or the number 2
we
wide
were
receiver.
talking
Why are we talking about this about the
too,
number 1 in both positions?
we were talking about how he gets to rookie of the year on both sides of the ball.
Right.
That was what the context of it was.
No. And
that was what
hey, not that's my bad. That's my bad.
All right.
He could be the rookie of the year on offense and defense.
I agree. I was saying
if you started him at offense and you started him on defense. So what we're talking about, to your point, is that for his health, it's going to be a hybrid of the two. But I'm saying is, based on his college production, there is so far a gap between what he can do on offense and defense versus what the second player can do at the second wide receiver can do an offense, or the second DB can do a defense. It's not an argument. So you have an argument that the second best DB or the second best wide receiver is better than Travis Hunter, then cool.
No, I wasn't saying that. We know that, generally speaking, offensive rookie of the year is skewed towards quarterbacks. All they have to do is breathe and remain upright, and half of the damn writers want to hand them the award. I was just trying to outline a path to where he could do well enough as a wide receiver in the league, competing against grown-ass veterans cornerbacks every week, in like week in, week out, that watch film, that watch tape, that's going to be ready for him, that's crafty. Like, how do you get him to outperform one of the quarterbacks that these writers are dying to take? And I was saying they need to assign him a coach to that side of the ball to feed the rate of his polish. That was the only angle that I had, man.
Okay. And that's fair. And I received that. I accept it. I understand it. I understand where you're coming from. Here's where I'm from.
All right.
Has a wide receiver ever won Rookie of the Year?
Didn't Randy Moss?
Yeah, he did. Since then.
I don't remember. That's a good question.
Okay, we'll table it. My thing is, that's half of this dude's talent. That's my point. So if he goes to a team and they utilize him properly, there is no way he shouldn't be Brady of the Year. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking at. Because I'm looking at like Champ Bailey, and I won't say Randy Moss, he's not that fast. Anquan Bolden. That's what I'm looking at. Like, throw both of those together. That's the rookie output I'm expecting if he lands in the right situation. Now, if he goes to a spot,
Garrett Wilson was the last one. Garrett Wilson, 2020.
Oh, he's better than Garrett Wilson.
I agree. And then Jamar Chasen went in and
yeah, he's not better than Jamar Chase. So he's so the comps are but somewhere between Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson, and he plays corner, and he's the best corner in the draft, bro.
You know what other wide receiver won it? Because we were just talking about him. Percy
Harvin. And I'm not mad at Percy Harvin. No, Percy Harvin. My thing with Percy Harvin was all health. The athletic talent was there. He could stay on the field.
No, it was just funny because you're talking about Percy Harvin.
But that's so longevity resides. But yeah, I'm sorry. I will accept that. That was a good callback.
Hey man, that's the magic sauce that gets clicks, man. Do more of that, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. well, that was all I had. Any last thoughts in the wrap up in terms of the pre-draft extravaganza?
So we had a couple of topics. I know we outkicked our coverage, but hold on, I gotta look at the guy's name. The running back from Rutgers. I can't remember. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up right now. Hold on.
Gary had the name. Gary had the name. Was it Agonai or something?
Yeah, I'm blanking on it now.
Hold on, I'm looking up.
I think Andrew Makuba is an underrated safety that he's probably going to go day 2, but if he goes day 3, somebody's going to have a steal. But in the meantime, Rutgers.
Yeah, Monagai. Yeah, no, Monagai, he's a beast. So if we don't get, as a Steelers fan, if obviously I'm gonna be a homer for my boy, but if we don't get him, Monagai, that's yeah. I've watched him play, and he's a beast.
Yeah, a lot of people love him.
Yeah, no, he is a beast. So he doesn't have top end speed, but so if you have a running back by committee where you have like a change of pace, third down, shifty guy, and you need a guy like Derrick Henry that's just going to get you. Well, not even Derrick Henry. I'll say Gus Edwards. This is going to get you them short yards, get you them touchdowns, but has a little more upside. Mind guy. That's my sleeper.
How does he compare to a LeGarrette Blount?
Faster,
Okay.
more capable, better out of backfield, passing wise.
Okay.
And I haven't been following. You mentioned Rodgers. Is that a real thing? Is that looking like it's Is he gonna? Is he gonna play for the Steelers? Yeah.
Bro, if Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers, I will not watch pro football this year. I am.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question directly, there's no new news, and that's the problem. So, in my happy place, we trade up, get one of these. It's not a great quarterback class, but at least, hey, you're at least putting the effort in. Trade up, get a guy. Like, I'm cool with Shador. I'm cool with Milrow. I can even work with Dart. I can work with Dart. Like, because he's sneaky athletic. No, because he can run. So in Arthur Smith's system, like he could fit in Arthur Smith's system, but it's more of a reach than with his other guys. But like Milrow gives me more upside.
I feel like you didn't mention Quinn Ewers for a reason.
Yes. I don't know. No. Just because of our offensive coordinator, I don't think that he fits in the offensive coordinator system that we have at this time. But if we keep doing what we're going, everybody might get fired. I don't know.
I think he's a good camp arm, Quinn Ewers. I expected.
We have Quinn Ewers. We already got Mason. We have Quinn Ewers on our roster already. That's Mason Rudolph. We got him. We don't need another one.
You said Mason Rudolph is Quinn Ewers with the
Raiders. Yes. I mean, to be totally fair, Mason Rudolph hasn't been bad as a backup.
Right.
He's not a starter.
Right.
I'm okay with him being the backup. So if I'm going to trade Mason Rudolph to be a backup, is Quinn Ewers being a backup? Okay. I'm okay with that. But that's not a value-added transaction for me.
That's fair.
Because I already got a dude that has 5 years in the system, 5-6 years in the system. He knows the offense. So I already know if my starter or if my young guy or whatever position, whatever direction we decide to go on offense, it falls flat, we'll go status quo. We'll go 9-8. We'll, exit the first round of playoffs, and we'll be back right in the same spot we were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, y'all have made the playoffs it seems like every year.
Nah, we'll miss it, but it always comes down to the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we haven't got out of the first round in a long time. But the thing is, you really don't break that cycle unless you tank or you make a splash in the trade or free agency. So we made kind of half a splash, got DJ Metcalf.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. So we trade up and throw away the rest of the picks to get to go ahead and get that what we think is a future quarterback. I'm not mad at that.
It'll be interesting to see where Shador ends up going because Like I said, I think he's by far the best. Or so let me put it this way: he's the second best quarterback in the draft in terms of what scouts look for.
Yeah.
But I think that he will. I think he will be a solid 10-year starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I concur. I concur completely. He can
I,
start. He can start in this league. He might make a Pro Bowl. Like he has a skill. Like all the talent is there. So to me, like that, he's the highest ceiling quarterback prospect I've seen in a while.
over Cam Ward?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, highest floor, not highest ceiling. He's the highest floor.
That's what I say. That's the thing, because like the thing about
But I
Matt,
no, but I would even say I would even give him highest ceiling over Cam Ward. Just because like I've seen Ward struggle. Like Miami's defense is trash.
yes,
So he was in a lot of comebacks.
yes,
But also a lot of reasons why he was in a lot of comebacks is because of his play.
he threw more interceptions than I expected him to.
So if I'm setting my baseline, like that's what I'm looking at. So I'm looking at dudes with similar athletic abilities, similar gifts. Okay, slightly different circumstances, but
Yeah.
they ended up at the same spot. You got to go back to
So hear me out when I say this, and I say this with respect to both quarterbacks. I feel like Cam Ward's ceiling is Josh Allen.
I wouldn't even go that far.
I think that's a ceiling because look, Josh Allen's first few years were unbearable. Okay, like if you just watch the tape, all the
But see, you're comparing
and now,
Josh Allen's first years in the NFL versus Cam Ward's play in college, and those things
but,
are not comparable.
but
So
what I
are we going back to North Dakota State film or
that,
Montana State? Where the fuck it came from?
what,
Are you talking about that film? Or are you
so
talking
what I
about Bill's film? If you're talking
so what
about Bill's
yeah.
film, it's not a comp.
So what I'm saying is, I think if Cam Ward puts it all together, he can be in that Josh Allen, like always in the mix. Probably won't ever win a Super Bowl, but in the mix and always threatening. I think that's Cam Ward's thing. I think Shador, his ceiling is like, I'm trying to think of who kind of throws ducks other than Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's
No,
like,
I heard a good comp, but I can't remember it right now. Damn.
so I like he's a poor man's. His ceiling is a poor man's Peyton, where I I
I'll take a poor man's Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl
I
winning quarterback. I'll take that. I don't know. I don't know. I'll take that.
I'm not, and so this is why I'm not. I'm not. I think I have great respect for both quarterbacks. I think they're both can have interesting careers. I think Cam Ward being the better runner gives him a Josh Allen ish element. I would never put him in the same.
Nah.
I can't put him and Mahomes in the same sentence. I don't
Oh,
think. But
as you
I
should.
Josh Allen. I think Cam Ward could be a Josh Allen, and I think Shador could be.
I don't think. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, and I think Shador can be a poor man's Peyton. Like
Well,
ceiling.
I mean, if we
Yeah,
talking that, if you're
yeah.
saying a poor man's, but if the poor man's equals Hall of Fame, I'm cool with that. Because that's what you're saying.
Right.
So a poor man's because
I
dude
think Shador
got
can.
two chips with two different teams, and he's a Hall of Famer. So a poor
I
man
think
would
Shador,
be a chip with one team and a Hall of Famer. Are we?
I think
I mean,
Shador
set
can
your
be.
parameters, bro.
Yeah, I do. I think he has. Look, you're not, generally speaking, the most accurate quarterbacks for that year. The accuracy translates well to the NFL, right? Like even like Mac Jones before he got ruined. Like I said, he had a Pro Bowl season, and coming out of his class, he was the most accurate
Pro
quarterback.
Bowl, not all pro. Let's be specific.
Right. And so what I'm saying is Shador is going to have a very similar floor. I would not be surprised if Shador either got a 500 record out of this season or became some sort of Pro Bowl alternate.
Okay.
He's talented enough to get there if he lands with the right team. And if he does slide, he'll probably end up in a better situation than if he gets picked in the top 3. And so, I think we've all said that Shedeur is potentially a dark horse for the offensive rookie of the year anywhere over Cam Ward, because you look at the Titans roster and you say, nah.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Like, it's like, who's he throwing to?
Cam Ward might be on IR by the end of the season when he's messing around.
Well, look, I don't know, because I don't know who Cam Ward is throwing to. I don't know who his go-to guy is. They don't have Derrick Henry anymore. It's like you look at that roster.
No, it's Tony Pollard. That's it. That's their league running back.
Okay, thanks. So they do have a running back, but they don't have any wide receivers anymore, right?
Nah, not really.
They traded.
Not that I can remember. I'm not saying they don't. Not that I can remember offhand.
They traded away AJ Brown.
Mm-hmm.
They let D Hop walk.
Mm-hmm.
Ridley did okay. I can't completely trash Ridley. Ridley had an okay season. So they have Calvin Ridley and spare change at wide receiver.
That's not bad. And the division is trash.
The division is trash.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Because it's what? Jaguars, Titans, Colts, and Jaguars, Titans, Colts, and why am I drawing a blank?
Texans.
Thank you, Texans. So basically, they're looking up at the Texans.
Yes.
That's just the default.
Yes. But that ain't much of a default because half of the Texans are hurt.
Yeah, if Tank Dell ever lasts a season, there'll be a problem.
Yeah. Do you know where Diggs went? Did he stay?
Diggs?
Yeah.
Patriot.
Oh, well, then, yeah. So, yeah. So, the AFC South is back to where they were. Yeah, we good.
And they got rid of Laramie Tunsil. That's the wild part.
He was trash anyway.
Well, let's close with this because I don't want to I know it's kind of late for Gary in particular, but I think let's close with this. You're gonna hear as you follow the draft about character issues, and I think let's make a designation between football character and character, right? So football character, to me, it's questions about, how often do you watch film? How hard do you practice? Are you, a good teammate? Do you take the coaching? That sort of thing. None of those things are like what we'd normally call character issues, but they're things where it can affect or put the team culture at risk if it's and so you're typically not drafted at that high level if you have those concerns. So that's why you'll see guys falling. Now,
to a point. So
yeah,
what I would say,
so talented that they'll ignore it, right? I'm with you. But I would say generally when you're watching
if you're borderline,
falling,
it's gonna knock you down the first
right.
Yeah, I want you.
So yeah, if you're wondering why somebody's falling, things can come out where like, oh, he didn't practice that hard, or he blew off, or the team had to cover up this, or there were secrets.
They're looking for excuses.
Right. Then there's character, right? Because we have a couple of wide receivers that are actually facing some legal issues, right? Kyron Lacy is facing a drunk driving death situation where essentially, he was driving erratically, caused an accident, a 78-year-old got killed.
Oh my God.
So it's one of those things where he's probably a day 2 talent, but in that scenario, a lot of teams will take that type of player off their boards or maybe take a 7th round flyer. He's probably going route.
Sounds like a steal to me.
And the new allegations about Isaiah Bond that just came out as a wide receiver. Apparently, there's some allegations that he may have taken liberties with a particular person. It's a developing story, but those are the types of things that can also affect somebody's draft stock because a team doesn't want to risk somebody that has an open case.
Unless you're
also, there's optics in terms of them going out into the community and get, hey, why did you draft this guy?
Unless you're the Chiefs.
Right. So,
Ravens.
go ahead. Go ahead.
He said, unless you're the Chiefs or the Ravens.
Yeah, exactly. So with all that being said, if some of these guys go lower than we think, it could be that there's some things that the schools were able to keep quiet, but scouts are always able to unearth. Just to, and you can speak on this probably even better than I can, but just to give you an idea, some of these scouts will go to local bars within the college area and just sit there and drink. Never declare that they're scouts, and just see which players are drinking,
Yep.
how are the players acting,
Top of the stairs.
yeah, are they entitled? Are they grabbing and groping girls, et cetera, et cetera? That sort of thing. Or they'll ask the bartender, hey, who comes in here? Like, and not even show that they're a scout. They'll go to certain even secretaries or trainers that they trust and say, hey, how did this guy treat you? Hey, what do I need to know? Et cetera, et cetera. The amount of footwork that these guys do, these area scouts, there's just things that reporters aren't going to have. And so, don't be shocked if people you think should go higher don't. And then these stories come out after the fact. Generally speaking, scouts try not to publicize anything until after the draft or during the draft. And a lot of reporters, to protect their sources, won't put anybody on blast like that. So I just wanted to let you know, if your guy goes lower than what we said, that could be why.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. Anything else you want to speak on? Any anecdotes in terms of scouts maybe pulling up at spots you didn't expect them at, Brian?
Nah, I mean, I'll go the other way. Like, I've seen both sides of the issue. Like, I know guys, and I don't want to name names, whatever, but I know guys who got caught up in that, where it was like in between that in between the combine and draft, and we had a party at a particular spot. And what I will say is, like, I've seen dudes tumble because of off-field allegations. And I can tell you, being at the spot when the quote unquote allegations happen, that I can't validate the story that was in the allegations.
Right.
However, once you get into that process, I mean, that's your money.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to the party and, associate with folks that could jeopardize your bag, it's on you.
Yeah.
Whereas I've seen the other side of it, where once old boy found out he was, high second, lace first, I ain't seen him.
Right.
I am not lying. And this was a dude, we're both from Richmond. So we were ride shared. Like, he would give me a ride back home. I didn't have a car at the time. So he would give me a ride back home, and then my parents come pick me up from Richmond, whatever,
Yeah.
So I ain't seen that dude. So from the time he dropped me off to the time I saw him drafted, I ain't seen old boy at all.
I get
he was taking that bag. So I mean, it's I've seen both sides. That's
right.
All. Yeah. That's all I'll say. But if it were me, no new friends, bro. I know Drake ain't popular, but that new friends, that's a real thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And also social media too. Like, you gotta any kind
of.
Oh
yeah, I can't even imagine, because this was like back in the 90s. I can't even imagine now.
Yeah.
Oh, we all be done.
Yeah.
If social media was like on the level where it was when I was like 19, 20, oh, nah.
Yeah, you remember the Laramie Tunsil gas mask weed thing? Yes. So let's hope, I mean, we've all made mistakes in our 20s. So, it's you gotta extend some grace. But the time to make mistakes is in May or June.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is, talking about Larry Tunsil, like going forward, there are more opportunities for them to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Than it was for us.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I can tell you, if social media was around when I was in my early 20s,
oh my God,
I can't hold y'all.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just think about the NBA, the cocaine-addled NBA of the 80s.
Oh my God.
Like the Chicago Bulls and like all those. I mean, just yeah.
Or the Mets. They
the Mets, yeah.
They were all cooked out.
Different times.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it was like that. I'm just saying, yeah, we're in today's social media climate. I don't know if I would have survived, bro. I ain't gonna hold y'all, man. I'll keep it a buck. I don't know.
You know what?
And you, that's sad. And Gary, like me and Nan, like we didn't have some travels.
Yeah.
And compared to the travels we had, I don't know. Based on my context, but I don't know.
I think my thing would have been my sense of humor might have got me in trouble. Like not necessarily any, but like I might have told some jokes that probably would have got me canceled.
Oh no.
Not
no,
but it wouldn't have been like it wouldn't have been like anything, violent or anything crazy like partying. It would have been the jokes for me.
But it's not, I'm not saying, and I don't want to categorize any of the ongoing allegations that we are referring to.
Right.
I can only speak to what I've been privy to. And what I'm saying is, based on today's climate, in the climate we came up with,
right.
That'd have been rough. Allegations are no right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just a
right. And all we're saying is that teams tend to be conservative when it comes to that. We're not. This is not us saying that anybody is guilty. All we're saying is that anytime a team hears of a pending allegation, or anytime a team hears that somebody isn't, strong when it comes to football character, it's going to knock them down a peg relative to what their other options might be at the position and their board. And so that somebody drops every year.
Oh yeah. But to be fair and to be clear, the NFL is terrible at evaluating talent.
I agree with that, especially at quarterback. I think quarterback might be the worst.
Okay. Top quarterback.
You talking about like Zach Wilson when they like?
No. Who's the top quarterback? Who's the best quarterback in the NFL
right now?
No, ever.
Brady.
What was his pick? What round did he pick
in? 6th round.
Who's the best wide receiver ever in the NFL?
Jerry Rice.
What round was he picked in?
3rd, right? What round was it?
Nah, he was late. He was late, bro.
What round?
Oh no. Okay. For purposes of posterity, I will make sure.
Joe Montana was a 3rd round pick too.
Yes. I do remember that. I just want to make sure. Oh no.
Brings the receipts.
No. Jerry Rice was 1st round pick. My bad.
Yeah. So, but
okay. Hey, I'll sub Jerry Rice for Antonio Brown. My bad.
Well, no, I was about to say Joe Montana was a 3rd round pick too. That's why I think quarterback is a position where the NFL really struggles to. Because I was like, what the hell is this?
Okay. Right. Okay. So we'll go this way.
Yeah.
So we got
Brock Purdy.
Kurt Warner is Hall of Famer, and he was undrafted.
Right. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, but I'm not counting him because he ain't done shit yet.
He made it to a Super Bowl.
He ain't done shit yet.
Making it to a Super Bowl is doing something.
He ain't done shit yet. Well, if that was the case, we'd be giving Colin Kaepernick his flowers.
I do. He wasn't a bad quarterback.
Is he playing?
No.
So apparently making it to a Super Bowl don't fucking matter.
Right, but he's not playing for other reasons. He's not playing because of talent. It's.
I mean, Ray Rice had murder allegations. He still played. I'm just keeping the buck, man.
I mean, all right, but Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, and don't nobody think he's a legend.
But I'm saying, okay, so tight end. So I will give you Jerry Rice. I thought he was later round. Okay, Shannon Sharp. He wasn't drafted. Hall of Fame.
Right. No, with you. I
would
would
say there's more of those, like there's more of that than number one picks that busted.
Well,
The
yeah,
NFL is terrible at evaluating talent.
I agree with you. I was just saying that quarterback is where it's the most egregious.
And yes, and I'm agreeing with you too, which is why Patrick Mahomes, which is why the Chiefs were able to trade up for Patrick Mahomes, not play him for a year.
Yeah.
But he's a still guy. It wasn't like it was a different Patrick Mahomes. He was the same dude.
Right.
He was the same dude, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
He ain't doing nothing different.
Right.
He's in a scheme that fits his talents. So that's all. That's the only point I was making. It's just like the NFL is terrible at evaluating talent overall.
Who did you think was the most overrated quarterback going in? Like you just knew that guy did not belong.
Ryan Leaf.
I think you was taking who?
Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, that's fair.
I knew he was going to be trash.
Yeah.
Why do you think the NFL's bad at evaluating talent? What's the short answer? Like, what's the nutshell summary version of that? What are the reasons for that?
Because they fall in love with the metrics. They fall in love with the combine. They fall in love with the numbers. And in a lot of cases, they overvalue that versus what they see on film.
Oh.
Compared to what's going to fit in their system.
Right.
So if you're going to draft this guy, so say, so if you're going to draft this, draft a quarterback, and the quarterback is a drop back passer, but the team that drafted him is the Ravens. You think that's going to work?
No.
Well, it can if they change their whole offense.
Right.
But in most cases, the teams and the coaches, like they're going to expect them. They more cater to they want to uphold their system as opposed to cater to the talent they have. So the teams that are successful in this era are the teams that are successful in evaluating the talent and adapting their offensive and or defensive scheme to who they drafted.
Yeah. And I'd say there's also a certain amount of ego investment that comes with that, right? Like I think the teams that are the most adaptable either to, all right, well the way the draft is going, let me not, I know I was married to this type of, but clearly they're not, and I don't want to reach.
Right.
Like there's this ego that like, no, we said we were leaving this draft with a tight end or whatever. It's like, yeah, but all the tight ends just went. You weren't able to trade up to get a tight end. Don't reach for the tight end that you have a round lower just to check the box and say you got a tight end. If you don't think he's talented enough to pick the spot, pick somebody who is this talented, right? I think sometimes people will get desperate and chase a need rather than stay true to their their film. I think some people get panicky and they're just like, right? I think there's an element of that. And I also think some people chase traits instead of value film. I think we all agree film should be king, and then that should be adjusted with things like the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, Combine.
But even that, but not even that is all in context, because you could have the best, and I'll just keep it simple just for conversation purposes. You could have the best. You could have Tommy Frazier. You get the best option quarterback ever.
Mm-hmm.
You draft him. You have a drop back pro offense. Do you think Tommy Frazier is going to be successful in a drop back pro offense?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the downfall of the modern NFL, because if the quarterbacks have diva egos, the coaches have even more diva egos.
Right.
Because it's not It's not the player. I can't adjust to the player. The player has to adjust to my scheme.
Right.
Which is fine.
Right.
As long as you pick players that can adjust to your scheme. So if you pick the best player available, but that player's skills doesn't adjust to what you're trying to do, that's how you get a bust.
Yeah, and we had a previous podcast, Brian, where we were discussing why Belichick got fired and why it got so bad at the end, and I said that part of it was his ego started driving the bus instead of what processes got him to where he needed to get.
Yeah.
Like, why are you having a pissing contest with Brady? Like, he's clearly the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, make that shit work. Why are you like, oh, but I can make another Brady? No, like,
No, but that's what it is.
He thought he could make another Brady. And so I was agreeing with you, but I was giving an example like
and that's the difference between Phil Jackson and Bill Belichick. That's the difference.
Yeah,
I think that it's cool that we're ending
succumbed to his own ego and ended up getting fired.
I think it's a nice way with it's a nice through line because we basically started talking about eye test video versus metrics and we're sort of like closing with my final thought was which is that it's a nice nice through line from the top of the pod, and then for me it's like it's a weird comparison, but it's kind of like buying a computer. Like I remember somebody explaining to me a long time ago when I was just starting out, like everybody wants the shiny new computer, but that's the wrong way to pick a computer. You have to think about what your apps, what are you actually going to use your computer for? Right. So I think the analogy in terms of what Brian and you're saying is like, what is your system and who's going to fill that the best? Not who is the shiniest, fastest, strongest player, but who fits the system that you're implementing. And I think that's a great point and a great way of thinking about it. So, all right, fellas, this was fun, man, as usual.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, good stuff. I was so happy to do this because hey, man, it's fam. We gotta put this thing out for the people. And I do see the feedback, like I see the likes and all that stuff. So it's good. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all inviting me.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming and contributing your perspective, man.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Good stuff. Have a good night. We'll pick it up next week, man.
Yes, sir.
Have a good
evening. Out here.
Peace.
All right. Peace.